So, now we come to perhaps a local chap who's going to tell us a bit more about what's happening here in Derbyshire. We're now going to hand over to Tim Birch, the Conservation Manager for the Derbyshire Wildlife Trust. So we're looking forward to hearing what Tim's got to say, so thanks so much indeed.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay? Are you still awake? Can you shout you're still awake? Are you still with me? Yeah! That's very good. Because I'm the last person to speak. I think they put me at the end because maybe they thought I was going to be too outrageous and you would have all switched off. I can assure you I'm not going to be, but hopefully you're going to be awake and listen to what I've got to say. Look, coming here is a bit like coming home in a way for me, because I grew up over the hills over here. I've got two of my brothers here today. I used to come out walking in the Peak District when I was a young boy with my mum and dad and my family. So I have many fond and happy memories about being in Edale, many lovely walks. However, what I remember as a kid, as I was becoming more environmentally aware, was I hardly ever saw any birds of prey. It never dawned on me at the time what was happening and why I didn't see those birds of prey. But now I've come back to Derbyshire. I've travelled a lot globally with my work before I came back to work for Derbyshire Wildlife Trust. It's a real privilege for me to be working for the Wildlife Trust. And it's finally... Okay, I'm trying to speak a bit louder. Can you hear me now, Alison? Can you hear me now? Can you come a bit forward? Come a bit forward. I can only project my voice so far. I'm not Mark Avery. Maybe I need to get a bit of a deeper voice like Mark and a bit of a louder voice like Mark. So it's finally been dawning on me why I never saw those birds of prey all those years ago. And I think we have to ask ourselves, we have been making some great progress here. I mean, the Moors for the Future project, what a fantastic project that is. Let's give a round of applause for the Moors for the Future project. And let's give a round of applause for all those farmers who are doing good things for the environment as well, please. Because they are. I think it's important we do not paint everybody with the same brush. As a wildlife trust, we're working very hard with many different organisations and many landowners, including many farmers. We're running a fantastic project in Edale with farmers in Edale. A chap called Andrew Critcher, I think, is here. Are you here, Andrew? Yep. A wonderful project with farmers to help vaccinate badgers. We don't agree with everything with farmers about badger culling, but we're working with them on vaccination, and I think that's a good thing. So round of applause for farmers. In a way, my speech is going to focus more on actually what we could be like, what the vision we have, what we have as a wildlife trust, the vision we have for our uplands and for the Peak District, what it could be like. We know there are lots of problems, but I want to focus on what the future outcome can be, because I think there's a very, very powerful vision that I would be surprised that nobody would want to buy into. We know at the moment, obviously, we've got problems with Hen Harriers. I was here in 2014. The Derbyshire Wildlife Trust was one of the first trusts to join forces with Mark Avery and the Birders Against Wildlife Crime to actually enable us to set up the rallies. So it's been a real privilege and pleasure to work with Mark. I remember that very rainy day in the Upper Derwent, but what a fantastic day that was. It was a super day, and it was, I think, the start of something very important. What it was the start of was increasing people's awareness about what is happening to our uplands and what kind of uplands do we want. Let me just paint to you a bit of a vision about the uplands that I think we want. I think we want, if we're here in 20 or 30 years' time, what do I think should be here and what should we be working towards? I'm going to run you through a list of what I think is possible, and at the end of it, I want anybody to here to tell me that's not a good idea. Okay, we're here in 20 or 30 years' time. The Hen Harriers are back, they're sky dancing over our moors. Is that a good idea? Yeah. We're here in 20 years' time, and peregrines are back in all their ancestral eyries all over the moorlands where they're not at the minute. Is that a good idea? Yeah. Red kites are back in the uplands. Why are they not here? They should be soaring all over the uplands. A friend of mine who recently moved up to Derbyshire, who I've got to know very well, I've got a lot of respect for, the first thing he told me was, Tim, where are all the birds of prey? I think it's a very, very important point. Mountain hares are not being shot on our uplands. They've migrated all over the uplands, and people can see them in many, many places. Is that a good idea? I have to say, I've had some pretty awful experiences seeing mountain hares not far from here in gamekeepers' stink pits. I have to say, it's shocking, and it has to stop, and it's not acceptable. Do we think it has to stop? Peat bogs will continue to be recovering with all the wealth of upland life we have with peat bogs. Is that a good idea? We have expanding woodlands from the cliffs. They're moving out up into the moorland. We have lots more wildlife for birds like hen harriers to feed on. Is that a good idea? One thing I'm really excited about is pine martens. We should have pine martens back in this wonderful landscape. I've been speaking to the Derbyshire Wildlife Trust, and they say, Tim, we agree they should be, but we can't have them back at the minute because of the levels of persecution. Do we want pine martens back? That would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. And most importantly of all, I think we should be aiming to bring a pair of golden eagles back into our uplands. Is that a good idea? We have been doing research. I've got a colleague here who's been looking into the research about the wildlife that was in Derbyshire over the past 200, 300, 400 years. Golden eagles were here. We need them back, and they should be back. What do golden eagles feed on? Mountain hares. If we actually get the conditions right, if we protect our mountain hares, there's absolutely no reason why we can't have golden eagles. Would you like a peak district that's full of all that wildlife? Yes. That's the vision that we have, and the benefit is that would also be a massive boon for the local economy. I've been speaking to businesses around here. There's real concern about, at the moment, bed and breakfasts are not being widely used, local hotels are not being widely used. I can guarantee that if the Peak District becomes the wildlife ecotourism centre of England, there will be so many people visiting, all the B&Bs will be completely full. Is that a good idea? That's the vision that we have of the Wildlife Trust. We think that we can actually work with multiple partners to deliver that vision. What a fantastic place that would be. You wouldn't have to go to Kenya. You wouldn't have to go to Far Eastern Europe to see amazing birds of prey and wildlife. You'd have it right here on your doorstep. That would be great for wildlife. It would be great for the local economy. It would be great for local land managers. And it would be fantastic for all the tourists and all you people like myself who enjoy the Peak District to come and see. Wouldn't that be a good idea? To kick off those discussions with many partners at the moment. We think it's a realistic vision, and we think we can bring people with us, and we think we can bring people with us who aren't even thinking about this vision at the minute, because it's a win-win situation for everybody. Let's start that journey. Please join us in the Derbyshire Wildlife Trust to help achieve that. Together, I think we can achieve it, and we will be here in 20 or 30 years' time, and our uplands, what majestic uplands they are. These are some of the most iconic landscapes in the whole of the UK. We want them full of wildlife. Let's get on and do it. Thank you.
Wow. I know where I'm coming in 20 years' time. I'm still alive. Book your holidays now. Looks like it's going to be very busy in the Peak District. So, again, another inspiring speaker. Thanks so much for that. That was brilliant. And it shows that it can be done. I mean, all these things that I think that Tim just mentioned are, without doubt, achievable. All we need to do is work together, everyone pull together, and get rid of driven grouse shooting off our moors for starters, and from there on we can build a really beautiful landscape full of our native wildlife, just as it should be. And as Tim described, what an amazing, fantastic vision for the future that was. So I think all that remains now is thank you very much to all the speakers today for coming along and inspiring us with their amazing experiences and talks. And most of all, of course, thank you to all you guys for coming down and helping us celebrate the Hen Harrier today. And thank you for coming along to support. I see a young man over there waving a petition again over there, so do go and have a chat with him and have a chat with him about some of the issues affecting the Derbyshire moors up here as well, and the grouse shooting on these areas. So most importantly of all, of course, please do sign Mark Avery's petition to ban driven grouse shooting. I'm sure you all have. If you have signed it, find a friend, find a family member who would also sign it. We're so close to that 100,000 now, and as Natalie said, we can get a debate in Parliament, and the thing then, once we get that debate, of course, is to make sure our MPs know what they're debating, why they're debating, and make sure they win that debate to ban driven grouse shooting. It can happen, and today's turnout shows that people want it to happen, and it will happen. We will win. Thanks again for coming along. It's been a fantastic day. Really appreciate everyone coming along. Thanks so much. Cheers.